I gave a 3 months notice and I had no business plan. I left my job and I was like, I'm going to go speak full time. I'd been speaking at that point. I did my first keynote 2016.
So that's what I was going to ask you. So you are now an acclaimed award-winning public speaker. You started doing keynotes without any of the things I think you're, quote, supposed to have to be booked for keynotes. Like you hadn't written a book.
No.
You hadn't made a documentary. You weren't from a political family. Like you didn't have these sort of benchmarks. You weren't an entertainer. You were in the kitchen. But so what, one, made you think you could go be a speaker? And two, what did you want to talk about?
These are such fun questions. Here's the thing. A way that I have lived my life, an unspoken rule I followed, is when I get asked to do something that in any way interests and intrigues me, I generally say yes to it. I got asked to speak for the very first time for money when I was 24 years old. And it was by a client of ours who was an adjunct professor in the human resources department at my alma mater, a small liberal arts school. And they had a unit on workplace wellness, and I was helping her company with their wellness programs. And she's like, Rachel, I can pay you $75 to come talk to my people about wellness. And I'm making $45,000 a year, maybe $40,000 a year. And I'm like, $75 is a dinner at Outback. Let's go. And I said yes. And then I made a presentation. I had no one telling me how to do any of this. I just sort of sensed what I should do and drew from the learnings of all the people that I'd been following for years and my own experience. And I kept getting asked to do it more and more. And then I decided that when we were running these wellness programs, I would introduce all these vendors of other people that were teaching workshops, and our clients would never hire them. And so I said to my boss, I was like, well, what if I just start teaching workshops about how to get better sleep and the secrets to happiness and eating for energy? What if I start doing that? And they were like, okay. So they gave me a lot of latitude, a lot of leeway, but I also took a lot of initiative. I mean, I created opportunities for myself and I just started getting in reps, and I was like building it as I was doing it. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd been to a lot of conferences. I'd watched a lot of TED Talks. I had a sense of what I liked, what I didn't like. And doing the cooking demonstrations gave me an opportunity to improvise, because when you're managing a hot plate and a blender and a food processor at the same time and teaching people why kale is good for them and how to make it not taste like dirt, you have to be just in the moment.
Yeah.
And you have to expect that everything is just going to burn or fall apart, and be willing to pivot and handle that in the moment. So I learned so much about building trust in myself to navigate a moment like that. And then for me, my first keynote came in 2016. I won an award the year before as the #1 health promotion professional in the United States from the Wellness Council of America, which was an award I applied for the day the application was due that I thought I had no chance of winning. And then that same conference, I asked to give an acceptance speech. They were just going to bring me on stage and hand me a plaque.
That's really, so there's so much in here. And I think one of the things that's really critical to highlight is that you created the opportunities for yourself. You can't sit around and wait for the dream opportunity to land in your lap. I mean, you can, but you'll wait your whole life.
You got to seize it, because people are so limited by what they've been told they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
In pretty much every area of their lives. And I grew up with my parents both being entrepreneurs. And so I just had a different view of reality. I had permission from the time I was very young to create my own reality. And so when they said, we're going to give you an award, in my mind, I'm like, I've attended this conference for 7 years. And I know that all of my peers and a bunch of thought leaders, 400 of them, are going to be in that room. I'm going to seize this opportunity. And I said, can I give a speech? 8 to 10 minutes. And they were like, yes. And I went up and I gave the speech. And granted, when I'm up there, I'm talking like this and my voice is like really high and I'm dancing around the stage and I'm like clearly really nervous and I'm not intentional about any movement that I'm doing. And like, you could tell that I was not grounded, but I did it. And at the end of that, the president of the company comes on stage and he said something like, that was amazing. We should have her speak at next year's conference. So on my flight home from San Diego to Baltimore, I wrote in the last page of my purple journal, I will speak at Walcoa next year. I did literally nothing other than write that down and put the intention out into the universe. And then 4 months later, I get a call from their VP, Rachel, we would like you to speak at next year's conference to be one of our keynotes. I had never keynoted anything. I had no training as a speaker. And they asked me to talk about nutrition, which, to be fair, at the time, I had not yet gone through your program. I was a health coach. I'd transformed my health and body and life through food. I was not a registered dietitian or a licensed nutritionist. I had no credential of any kind in healthcare. And I was going to talk in front of a bunch of wellness people about nutrition. But they were like, we want you because of your story, because you're non-prescriptive, because you're going to say something different. And that taught me one of the most important lessons of my life, which is that an invitation is an indication of a qualification.
Invitation is an indication of a qualification. And then your commitment is to fulfill on it.
Yeah, you get invited. Someone thinks you're qualified. Put yourself out there and give it a shot.